Good evening everybody, welcome to what is the season opener for season 11 here in V8 Veterans. We are at the official home of the V8 Supercar Bathurst in New South Wales. We're in the Holden Commodore today. We've qualified P6 for the opening round and we are starting on the outside of the starting grid. As lights go green we get a reasonably good start. Teammate there on the inside gets a bit of wheel spin and makes his way into turn one, and we find ourselves on the outside of him, so we give him plenty of room. We get a good run on the outside as we make our way down Mountain Straight for the first time. Track conditions are ideal for these cars and suited. So we make our way into the heavy braking zone at the end of Mountain Straight for the first time. We actually can see the position too early in the season to do anything silly and detrimental for this season opening event. We make our way up the hill, heavy braking zone through in the cutting area. It's a tight left-hand turn as the car still climbs up the hill through the Fujitsu signage area. And at this point of the race we are sitting pretty comfortable. We're all in single file. We'll get our teammate half a second up the road. John King is actually tucked in behind us. Across the hill, a little bit of weight gets off the car as we tip it in and we come across Skyline for the first time. And this is where the fun begins, down through the S's into what used to be the VB Dippers, now called the Cooper's Mile Dipper by the looks of things. 48 laps around here this evening at Bathurst, 6.4 kilometres per lap. But we've got a long way to go tonight. The exit out of Forest Elbow ever critical onto Conrod Straight. So we're well and truly in Darren's draft in front of us, and we have John King .2 behind us, so he within striking distance. Using all the track and then some as we make our way down through the chase for the first time, hard on the brakes. Everything through there looks relatively standard and uniform as it should be, and we go down under the Almoroil Bridge into Hell Corner to complete our first lap, Murray's Corner. Across the line, that's lap number one, and things are looking reasonably okay for what is season 11 debut. Around turn number one to start lap number two. You can see all the cars in the background just filing single file as they make their way back up Mountain Straight for the second time. So skip along now, lap number three I think it is. We're still sitting behind our teammate, still in P6, so not a lot has changed other than the fact we've got ourselves a 1 second gap to John King behind. Bit of a brake lock up there from one of the Taipan Esports cars in front. We'll have a look to see what happens here. Just out brakes himself, runs wide on the exit out onto the grass and makes himself a little bit vulnerable as he safely re-enters the track. That allows Darren and myself to get right onto the back of him. So at this point I'm not too sure which way to go. I decided to take the wide line. Darren on the inside rolls out of it, finds himself off the racing line. So we get that job done. You can see in the background John King's going with us, so he gets the move done on Darren as well. Lap number five now and into the chase again. Bit of a brake lock up by myself. Just trying to put a little bit of pressure on Scotty Weston in front. But that brake lock-up just put ourselves under pressure, so John's made in that time that we had on him a little earlier and he's right on our rear bumper. Again, coming out of the chase here, good run underneath the Almoroil Bridge. Make our way around to complete another lap. This time, lap number 7, we get a good run down Mountain Straight on the outside here. First chance to really attack Scotty, put him under some pressure, and we do the under and over. He outbrakes himself and runs a little bit wide, and we manage to duck in on the racing line, hold it tight, and use the off-camber track to our advantage as we make our way back up the hill again. So that puts us back up into effectively P4 now. So 1, 2 and 3 sitting further down the road with quite a bit of a gap, and then all of a sudden this happens. So Todd Duggan here making his way through the cutting and leading this race. Seems to get on the throttle a little bit early, and around she goes, bang into the fence, and has to sit there and park it on the what is effectively the left-hand side of the track as the entire field, what feels like, probably makes their way back up the mountain. So very unfortunate for Todd, but one of those positions on the track where it's very, very hard to get the thing turned around, particularly when there's a snake of cars trying to get up the hill. So that elevates us back up to P number 3 now. It's still a bit of a gap to the cars in front, but over the last couple of laps we've managed to get that down to 4.6 seconds. So we are making some headway on the guys in front. And at the same time we pulled a 1.1 second gap back to John King as well. So any immediate threat from behind has been eased. Lap 14 now. We're starting to think about our first potential pit stop. Making our way down the hill. Tricky part. We see a teammate there on the right hand side who's reversed back into the wall. So that actually brings out the safety car. So at the end of that lap there, we are actually going to dive into the pits and utilise make the most of the safety car that has been called. We'll just go back and have a look to see how all that unfolded, and it actually unfolded a little further back than where we actually saw. So teammate backwards in the fence was a bit of an aftermath from this potential incident here. I think this is Quaney locking it up down through the S's and just noses it into the fence. Bit of an awkward spot, and again very difficult to get the thing turned around. And then Reg James comes through, gets a little bit of inside grass, and he just loops it up. You can see Quaney's car there on the left hand side, and all of a sudden Reg is facing the wrong way, sitting in the middle of the track on a blind corner. So the absolute last spot you want to be. So Reg does a pretty good job here of reversing the thing off the racing line. But again, very hard to get the thing spun around and facing the right direction again, because there's literally another 30 odd cars storming their way down the mountain trying to get to the bottom. So that did bring out the safety car. We do dive into the pits, and this is where my race has its first hiccup of many. We dive into the pits, we stop, we change our tyres, the car goes up on jacks, and all of a sudden we're not necessarily the first one in, but the car gets dropped and we're the first one to potentially leave, and we realise we haven't actually taken fuel. We try to reverse or go forward and reverse back again to reactivate the fuel starter, but nothing happens. So we realise we have to go out of the pits and do another lap. So this was the first race after an iRacing update, and it actually managed to change something in my app ini file, and my automatic fuel option must have been reset, and as a result, the next lap we had to dive back into the pits and retake more fuel. So what started off as a potentially good start to the race, and we were sitting in P3, we're now effectively right at the back of the field. You can see the huge train of cars snaking their way down Conrod Straight. So we've got a huge task ahead of us now to try and salvage something out of this particular race, being the opening race of the season. So the lights go green, we get underway again, and we get a reasonably good run on Simon Pitt as we make our way down Mountain Straight again. Find ourselves on the outside, but we get past him in time to get the job done hard on the brakes. And that's the first overtake we do on cold tyres after the restart. Lap 19 now, as we make our way back up the hill. Have Wayne in front of us, get a little bit of a sniff of an opportunity there on the inside, but that door closes, so we have to concede and fall back into position. You can see the cars snaking their way down the mountain again through the change of direction, down through the VB dipper. We finally get a good run on Wayne down Conrod Straight. Find ourselves on his right. We actually back out of it relatively early. Wayne runs wide. We manage to pull it tight and we get the switch back done. So that's another position gained. And we can now focus on the car in front of the car 199 of Matty Parker. Bit of a brake lock up there from Matty. he has a bit of a balk coming out of the final turn. We have looked down the inside, but we are off the racing line. Don't want to jeopardise our run down Mountain Straight. So again, concede the position, fall back in line, and potentially use the draft of the trainer cars in front to pull us along. We have Dave Worrell in the Marlboro Inspired Commodore there on the right, just letting a couple of faster cars through. We fall in behind Wade Reynolds. Lap 21 now, and we are balked. We've got nowhere to go. Can't go right, can't go left. Things are getting a little bit hectic here, so we actually check up and we outbrake ourselves. We managed to avoid the car in front, but as a result we have a bit of a spin and kiss the inside fence at turn number 2. So all that work we just done after the restart, we are now dead motherless last on the track. A little bit of car damage, but it didn't really hurt us too bad. It was quite cosmetic. The car was still turning all right and we had good straight line speed, but as a result we're another 10 seconds behind the cars in front, so we have to put our head down and try and make the best of the situation. A bit further up the field, Tim Betts here comes out of Forest Elbow, gets on the gas too early and has a bit of a spin, gives the fence a bit of a kiss with his nose of his car, and again has to wait for the whole train of cars to come through. So we make our way down through Forest Elbow here now. You can just see his car sitting on the left hand side waiting for the train to go through so he can get going again. You can see the car in front 9.6 seconds down the road. They're barely in our view, so we've got a bit of work to do before we come across too much more traffic. And then all of a sudden this happens. Roy Clark has a bit of a moment coming out of the cutting, and all of a sudden we make our way through. But Simon Pitt was a little bit unfortunate and ended up on the wall, in the wall on the right hand side. So that did bring out the safety car. So we're trundling along now again, making our way back down the hill, and then this happens under safety car. Paul Wayne just runs a little bit wide and it gets the thing hooked up through the VB dipper or Cooper Mile dipper. Doesn't actually get the thing stuck, manages to reverse out and keep going again. But just an unfortunate little error there from Wayne under yellow. But that does bring out the safety car and everybody congests back up again. So that puts us back into P24, but at least all the cars now are back within close proximity of one another, and that works in our favour just a little bit. So lights go green for the restart again. Todd Martin in front of us going through turn number 1. We just have a look at the restart here. Put ourselves under pressure the next lap again. We tried to make a move on Todd through the last corner, didn't actually pull it off. That put to Craig Healy right on our rear wing, but we did manage to get a good run out of turn 1 again down Mountain Straight, and that's the job done on Todd. So it's a good car speed despite that little bit of damage in the front right hand corner. And the car ahead already up the road a little bit. Another couple of laps later now. Pass under brakes with Peter there. We also find Matty Parker has spun it on the last corner coming onto the start-finish straight. Big puff of smoke there, so it looks like he's got a little bit of damage. So we've actually got 2 moves done in the one corner there, through pot luck more than anything else. Later that lap, I think we passed Michael Quain there. I presume he ran out of fuel the way everybody was rounding him up, and he was just pulled over on the left-hand side trying to make it back to the pits.
Copy.
But as that was happening, safety car was called, and we dive our way back into the pits again for our second scheduled pit stop.
Stay to the right-hand side, coming out of turn 1. Thank you. All right, speed up,
We'll
please.
duck back and have a bit of a look to see what actually caused that safety car, as we trundle our way down pit lane, making sure this time we have our fuel selected and our tyres selected so we don't repeat what we did during the first pit stop. So this is what brought out the safety car. Matty Parker there missing in the front half of his car, well and truly looking worse for wear, and a big puff of smoke as he comes underneath the Mark Taylor Fujitsu air conditioning sign. And his race comes to an abrupt stop as the engine decides it doesn't want to play the game anymore. So back under safety car, getting ready for another restart. We've made up a number of positions, but we've got a long way to go. So around the final corner, getting ready as the lights go green again. Fletcher Christensen in the front of us. He gets a good run under the bridge for the first time as well, so we do our best to tuck in underneath his rear wing and use his draft down Mountain Straight to our advantage. 0.2 up the road, so well and truly within draft range. Underneath the pedal suspension bridge. Nothing happens for the rest of that lap, but at the end of that lap, change the direction under brakes and we get the job done, giving him plenty of room on the exit there not to run him off the track. But a bit of respect shown from both drivers going both directions, which was really good. Climbing back up the hill again now, we find ourselves behind Peter and managed to stick our nose down the inside. Not really a passing opportunity across the top of the mountain there, but we had good speed and we saw an opportunity, so we went for it. A little bit of a risky move, but you can see the cars in front actually pulling away, so we had to do our best to get that move done as soon as we potentially could. Coming out of the chase, and Warren Davis and Rick Viger come together after Rick squeezes Warren up against the inside curb there. We'll just jump on board and have a look to see how that one happened as well. So there's another couple of positions gifted to us through the unfortunate error of a couple of other drivers. So Warren late on the brakes, decides to hold it around the outside, gets the job done there. Hard up against the inside, and then Rick just moves across, hooks into the back of Warren's car, and he is escorted off into the tyres. So we managed to sneak through there, avoid that incident, and all of a sudden we are again back on the tail of what is a train of cars, tucked right underneath the rear wing now of Aidan Rice. We've got Mark Peck on our right hand side. This looks a little bit messy, so we decided to back out of it early. As a result, we get a pretty good run coming back up out of turn number 2 and show Aidan a little bit of room there on the inside, and that pass is done as well. Another lap later, tucked underneath the rear wing of Sips, and he just gets put off a little bit by Pecky in front, misses his braking marker and runs a little bit wide, so we managed to read what's going to happen before it happens. Duck down the inside, and again we have Pecky on our right hand side, Peter Latham on the inside there. We get a good run tucked underneath Peter's rear wing, and then Pecky decides he wants to try and take it too wide through there, just turns in and tags the side of our car and puts himself into the fence. So certainly not the way we wanted to get the job done, but very unfortunate, and as a result see Pecky sitting there in the middle of the track. Viger comes along and ends up on his lid, and this just starts a chain reaction of incidents. So Quaney comes through now, misses all the smoke, and he has a bit of a spin at the cutting as well. Very lucky to keep it off the wall. But while all that's happening, further back, coming out of turn number 2, so Fletcher and Richard Barella come together, arguing over a bit of real estate, and again a heap of carnage. Track's almost blocked, and Jason DiBietto comes through here, failing to realise what was happening ahead, and just doesn't brake in time, cleans up Dave Baldock on the way through as well. So lap 41 now, so we are getting towards the end of the race, and we have made our way back inside the top 10. You can see we're all lined up here under safety car. Lights go green the following lap, and we get a really good run on Peter down the straight going into turn number 2. Again, giving plenty of room on exit. He shows us the same respect going into the corner, but the job's not done yet. We do go through too wide there. Shows what Pecky and I could have done if a little bit more room was given, but ultimately we get the job done with Peter there, and we now focus on the car in front, Craig Healy. So we sniff a top 5 potentially in front after being dead last at one point, making an additional pit stop we didn't need to. not disappointed to find we are where we are on the track. So making our way down the Conrod Straight again later in the race, and you can see the big puff of smoke on the left hand side. And again, we'll have a look to see what happens. This is on board with Warren Davis. Cars in front seem to be battling for position. Jason in the HSR car there just tags the Emu car to his left, sorry, to his right, and poor Warren Davis there, collateral damage, ends up in the fence and his race is done. So that brings out the safety car again for what is potentially the final time. Everybody congests back up and the lights go green and we get back under racing for the run to the flag. Cars spread out a little bit now as we make our way down Conrod Straight again. We are tucked underneath the rear wing of Craig Healy, and we sense he's feeling a little bit vulnerable, or he's driving in his mirrors because he's missing a couple of braking markers. You get a good run going up the hill, but of course nowhere to go. Look right, look left, just roll out of it there. Again, get a good run up through this part of the track, but it's only one car wide. So we really have to try and bide our time or force him into a mistake. Across the top of the mountain, down past Skyline. Craig has a little bit of a brake lock up here and just misses the apex there on the inside. So this is our chance to potentially make a move and put him under pressure at Forest Elbow. We try and do a bit of a switch back and fill up his mirrors, and as a result, I happen to hit the grass on the inside, and that turns me around, clips the wall. So like so many before us, facing the wrong way, and we just literally have to sit here and wait for the entire field to make their way through before we manage to do a flick spin and get going again. So only a handful of laps to go now, and we've just thrown away what was a guaranteed top 10 position and potentially a top 5. And disappointing end to the race, but we haven't thrown in the towel yet. We come across the line for what is the final time. Coming out of turn number 1. Make our way back up the hill. Oh, sorry, that wasn't the final time. I think this one is the final time, and we see a few cars in front of us. We've actually made a bit of ground on these guys in front as they are battling for position. Come around turn number 1 and we see a big puff of smoke, and Todd Duggan has blown his engine on the left hand side in the dying stages of the race, so we gain a position there. Wayne on the left just happens to run out of fuel on the last lap as well, so we get gifted that position, and all of a sudden we go from 24th back up to 22nd, so we gain a couple of positions on the final lap there simply through to pot luck. You can see the car in front, Dave Baldock, but he's too far down the road, so we put in a reasonably good run across the top of the mountain. Come out of Forest Elbow, and John King, who was potentially in 2nd or 3rd on the final lap there, you see him here make his way through Forest Elbow, has a bit of a spin, kisses the wall, and has to succumb to the same fate that the rest of us have had to do, or a number of us have had to do throughout the course of the race. And he definitely threw away a podium position, unfortunately, but we get gifted one more position. That puts us back up to P22, I think it is now. And we have Travis Hunt in front of us, and I think he's run out of fuel as well. He's trying to limp it home because we're making good ground on him in the dying sectors of the lap. Heavy into the braking zone here. He gets a little bit loose and we actually respond to his mistake. He spears off to the left hand side. We do run off on the grass on the right hand side, but manage to keep the thing pointed in the right direction, and that is a promotion up to P21. Make our way through the final corner for the final time. There's 48 long laps around Bathurst here for what has been the season opener of V8 Veterans, season number 11. It wasn't the start to the season we wanted, but we definitely did show we had good pace. So if we can put this round behind us, learn from some of our mistakes and misfortunes, hopefully we can come back and make something of the rest of the season. So if you enjoyed the video, this short summary of how the race went, please hit the like and subscribe button to the channel. We are trying to make the channel grow. leave a comment down below because I do read them as well. And if we get enough comments, we'll try and keep these short mini reviews of how the race went, and they may become a bit more of a common feature on the channel. So thank you for watching. Again, please hit that like and subscribe button to the channel if you enjoyed what you saw tonight. And until next time, keep on punching.